I mean, you've been in this space for how many years now?
I've been in this industry for almost heading towards 30 freaking years. Like, think about what you get to do for a living, Ryan. You get people that are dying to do something more, and you have the opportunity to inspire them to take uncomfortable action. They click on something, they watch a webinar, they show up for an event, they get even more uncomfortable and invest in specialized knowledge. And you get to coach them so they live into who they're meant to be, not they're settling to be. God, you and Tony, I mean, he's my dearest friend now, he's my partner. We're working harder, no joke, than we've ever worked in our life. There's something about, we get to, like, it's cool to say my brand is heading towards doing $2 billion in revenue if I add up everything I've done since the beginning. But you know what's even cooler is all the lives that we got to impact along the way.
What's up, Well Builders? Today, I've got a guy who has done almost $2 billion in sales, helping people change their lives through personal development, through real estate, and so many other things. He is partners with Tony Robbins, the GOAT of all of this. I've got Dean Graziosi. What's up, man?
Good to be here.
Dude, so I'm excited to talk to you because I've been seeing you, obviously, since the start of my real estate career, you know, back in 2010 when I became a realtor. And then as I became an educator, obviously watching what you and Tony and everyone accomplished in this space has been incredible. And dude, I'm just excited to hear what you guys are cooking up these days, how you see the world changing, and then what you've learned almost in the past, 3 decades doing this.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to be here and been watching your stuff for quite some time. You know, I shared this with you when we were walking on our way to the podcast room. Is I've been in this like almost 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And even before the internet existed, sometimes people say to me, "Hey, why'd you used to do infomercials?" Like, because I'm older.
Yeah.
There was no internet. Like, it was either smoke signals, carrier pigeon, like joking. But back then it was infomercials. And I have to say, you see people who come into this industry and they come in it for a moment, or they come in it and they hit a campaign and and then you see people that you just have this intuition that they care deeply, they want to transform lives, that they're building a business, not just a hook and a sales process. And I don't know, I this is the first time we're meeting in person, but I've seen you online for a while.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that, like, watching you, I'm like, I feel like this guy truly gets it. And you got a great drive by. So it's been a blast watching, and it's fun to be here today. So my whole goal here today is, listen, there's a lot of things your listeners or viewers could be doing. We are overstimulated with opportunity. So if they're going to spend an hour and a half with us right now, let's knock their socks off, give them capabilities to kind of condense time and go faster. Anything I can do to serve, I'm here for that.
I love it. And thank you for the kind words. It means a lot. That is one thing. You actually hit on the one thing that I now value the most when I look at other people is longevity. Like, I look at guys like Tony and you and Dave Ramsey and even like a Cardone. I'm like, how have these guys done this so long? Because even I've only really kind of been in the space for 5 years, let's call it. And I've seen lots of people already come and go in 5 years who were like the hottest thing to now nothing. And I'm just like, why can't people have consistency or longevity? What do you think it makes somebody to have that?
So only because I've been doing this a long time, and only because I've been watching, think about, you've been watching people coming in and out for 5 years.
Yep.
I've been watching for 29, right?
Yeah.
And there was a time when I had I got into this industry because of Tony. That's a whole nother story. And now he's my dearest friend and partner. But there was a time after I got in this industry, about 5 years in, I had the #1 infomercial in the world. And it was running every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, someplace nonstop, spending $1 million a week on media. It was all over the place, right?
That's crazy.
And there was a time when someone not just ripped off they transcribed my whole half-hour show, got somebody that was my age, looked like me, and just did the exact same thing. And I remember freaking out, like, oh my God, what are we going to do, right? Man, and over time, those feelings go away, because here's the things I believe. Is the people who last in this industry have to care about people first. That you have to care about your product. And I know it's easy. Everybody says, I care about my product. I got the greatest product. But they don't.
Yeah.
They get sucked into the sales process. Like, can I sell it? What's the dollar per lead? What's my return on ad spend? What is the lifetime value of my client? Can we sell them an upsell? Can we get them into the thing? And sometimes somebody with the finest intentions, Ryan, starts that way. And then you get sucked into just the sales. And then you hire people and we got to make a certain amount of money to make payroll.
Yeah.
And all those things happen. And then they freak out. And then their wives are saying, or husbands are saying, hey, you're never home anymore. And all they can think about is the sales, the push, the sales, the drive, the better return on ad spend, the better ads, the push. And they forget that these are human beings that trust you enough to give you money, that they say, I know I'm meant for more. I have lots of options to achieve more, but I'm going to trust you. And when you forget that people put their life savings or they put money on credit cards so you can give them a path and plan. I'm just saying the number one thing I believe the people who don't last is they figured out marketing. They didn't spend the time to care about humans on a deeper level, to care about transformation, how they feel through the whole process, to meet people where they need. Like you and I both know some of the best marketers in the world.
Yep.
And to be a great marketer, do you have to innovate every day?
Yep.
Do you have to create?
Yep.
Right? You have to think of stuff no one else thought of. You have to take what other people did that's great and make it better, make it unique, make it your own. You have to find new delivery systems. All those things you do. Like this is how I told my team for the last decade. I used to hold my arm. It's hard to see if you're not watching on video, of course, if you're listening, but I used to hold my arm to the left. And I said, all the things from my finger to my elbows, all the work you have to do to get people into your funnel, into your world. You got to deliver value in advance. You have to have a great hook. You have to have different kinds of ads about your company, ads that are social proof, ads about your story and your hero's journey and all this stuff. You do all this work and you got to get email sequences that get people to show up and they have click rate and all that stuff. And what happens is for that distance, people get really good at that. And I said, you know how you become sustainable is flip it this way. And that same amount of energy, effort, and time you need to put into transforming their lives. Get them to show up. Get them to digest your information. Get them to get into their first deal. Get them to take the uncomfortable action. Get their spouses on board if their spouses aren't on board. Like it is equal. And most people, it's not. I promise you, as you move forward, you're going to start seeing people like 75% of their time is getting client acquisition, 25% fulfillment. They won't last.
Yeah.
When you see somebody that's 100% and 100% or 50 and 50, I think that's the longevity. And then once you put the customer first, and maybe it's not as profitable as at first.
Yeah.
Right. Then the second thing, and we can get into this later, is you got to find a way to keep the hunger alive every day. You got to show up like a lion every day of your life. Every day it's the fight. And it's the most amazing fight that you could ever imagine, but your hunger fades, then your innovation fades, then your resourcefulness fades. You become complacent. You hire someone to be a COO. You hire a CEO. You hire a head of marketing, and you hope it runs without you there. And want. You're looking for another thing.
So you and Tony obviously right now are very heavily involved. Like you said, you guys are working harder than ever before, and you both are clearly hungry, doing new things. You guys
starving.
Doing lots of events, all these things. I know you guys got one coming up we could talk about later, but what keeps you guys hungry?
So I think it's like, I think everyone needs a compelling future. Do you believe in 10 years from now, your life will be exponentially better?
Yeah.
More money?
Yep.
More, you'll find out who you are as a human more?
Yep.
You in a relationship?
Married, 3 kids, a 4th on the way.
Oh, congratulations. I got
Thank
4
you.
myself.
There we go.
Freaking amazing, right?
Yep.
Better dad?
Yep.
More time with them?
Mm-hmm.
All those things. You have a compelling future, true?
Yes.
What if I said to you, I don't think the world's going in a great place. It's going to go bankrupt. The dollar's going to be worth nothing. Inflation's going to kill all of us. Whether you like the last president or the current president, doesn't matter, but they're going to ruin the world. Like if you take away a compelling future, then you can't be hungry in the present. And I think we all have to be brave enough to be optimistic that all the stuff that's facing us, innovation will create to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that's we're worried about global warming or whatever it is you're worried about. People might call this like naive. I am optimistic enough to believe, at one point oil was just the greasy stuff on the bottom of a camel's hooves, right? Until innovation and creativity. And I truly believe innovation is going to solve all the stuff we're worried about. So if you take that away, instead of thinking the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and you go, the world is going to get better. That things are going to innovate, that this is the time for me, that AI can empower me, not take away my career. It can make my real estate investing or any business I'm in go faster, quicker. I can have agents do things so I can do twice the business without hiring people. If you think through that lens, you start getting excited about the future. And then you start crafting your compelling future. And the way I look at it is, I grew up on the East Coast, and if we went over to Massachusetts, there was all the lighthouses. We all need a lighthouse that we're focused on. That we go, that's where I'm going. You got to get up every day and have something to fight for.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. I guarantee you've already reached your lighthouse multiple times.
Yep.
And when you reach that goal, I guarantee you're doing way better than you ever thought you were gonna. I know I am.
Mm-hmm.
When you get there, you can't just hug it and go, we're here. You got to go run out 50 feet, plant it again, and come back with shit. I'm getting back there now.
Yeah.
Right. So if I look at my life of having a compelling future, something that drives me, at 8 years old, watching my mom and dad split when I was 3. My dad didn't support us, so my mom worked 3 jobs to try to make money for me and my sister. She worked cleaning houses, cutting hair, and painting houses. She made next to nothing. We lived in a trailer for a while. My first compelling future was retire my mom. She's the sweetest woman. She's still alive, thank God. But I remember thinking, this woman, she's not enjoying anything out of life, never complained. And I remember being 8, 9 years old, Ryan, going, I'm going to retire her. This is not fair to her. And that was a drive that, I had dyslexia. I didn't go to college. I didn't come from money. None of that. It wasn't, I didn't even have the how. Most 50% of businesses fail the first year, 80% fail within 5. I didn't look at statistics. I didn't ask people permission. I just said, my mom needs to stop working this way. The how is, I'll figure out the how. I need the drive, the hunger. And I carried that hunger until I retired my mom in my 20s. And then and you just got to replace that lighthouse with things that drive you when, as an entrepreneur, whether it's in real estate or anything.
Yeah.
It's all those moments in the invisible. I could sit here with you and know, without knowing you more than, we've seen each other, we have mutual friends, and now we're getting to know each other today. But I know you've doubted yourself a million times.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've had sleepless nights that you don't tell your wife. I know there's times you thought of quitting. There's times you thought the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Maybe I go get a job for $1 million a year working for somebody else and be done with this. I know all those things you faced in the invisible, and you're still here.
Mm-hmm.
That means I know you have a compelling future. I know there's something bigger. I know you have a depth of hunger. And all I would say is, if you're in an industry that's growing, if you can model proven practices, then you have to find that lighthouse, that hunger that gets you out of bed, that drives you when things go wrong. And if I just finish the story with me, it's maybe started with my mom. And then there was a time where I watched money control my parents. I wanted to be in control of my calendar, my decisions, my time.
Mm-hmm.
Then I became a dad. I don't like missing dance recitals. I don't want to miss soccer. I don't want to miss jujitsu. I don't want to miss any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of my compelling future. I want to be in control of my decisions all the time, right? Today, when we get done, I'm flying home so I could immediately, I'll be on the plane. When we're done, I'll be on the plane within 15 minutes of saying goodbye, because my son's first soccer game is at 5:00 today. I'm going to be there, right? I've manifested that is into my new compelling future, to always be there for my kids, to have freedom to grow. And then being partners with Tony, he's like, I'm not kidding you. Every week we talk about, like, we have more lives to impact. Like, we can't leave this earth until we impact more, especially, politics have us so divided that we should be different and separated. And he's got this great mission of bringing people together and showing that we all have way more in common than we don't. So all those little things, that was a long answer to a short question, but all those little things build up to a drive. Like, we have more lives to impact. I need to set this example for my kids. Like, you just got to find something always that drives you through the pain or drives you through the potential failures.
Yeah. No, I love that. It makes me think about hope, right? Like, I mean, that's compelling future, hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, if somebody doesn't have hope that the future is better, that there's something more,
then your today is horrible.
Yeah. It makes life really, really hard. And I think about even me throughout my career, in life, it's like, man, I wanted so much for my compelling future to be a baseball player. And so I grew up playing baseball. It's all I focused on, honing my skills, working hard, eating right. And then you get drafted and it's like, all right, cool. That's the first lighthouse.
Yeah.
Now I got to get to the big leagues. And then you know what? I didn't get to the big leagues. I spent 8 years playing professionally, minor leagues, making no money, $1,200 a month, just trying to figure it out. And, sometimes the lighthouse changes. You're like, all right, this isn't working. Not every business works. You're going to fail. Like you said, 4 out of 5 fail. Didn't get there. So then I get into real estate, start flipping houses. And, you flip that first house. It changes your life. It's
Yeah.
like, this is crazy. 25 grand, this is nuts. And then you do it again, you do it again. And then, yeah, like you, I retired my parents, I think when I was like 30,
So awesome.
like,
Congratulations.
thank you. And it was cool because they lost everything in the crash in '08. And so I lived through that. I was 18. I watched them lose it all. And I knew they never got back on their feet. And so being able to be the guy that was able to fix it for them
Yeah.
has been awesome. And then, as you make more money and things, you start to realize, like, once your needs are met and like the needs of those around you are met, you're like, what else is there? And so I started doing social media. We started coaching and events and all this stuff. And then that's been awesome. And then I think, at this point in my life as well, it's like now I do a lot more things on the faith side of things. And so we're really focused on helping Christian entrepreneurs. We're really focused on making an impact that way. And it just kind of goes deep into that, even just on this compelling future, but to the end game. It's like, what happens when we die?
Yeah.
Like, that's the ultimate future.
Of course.
And so I've kind of like already now set the lighthouse at like the very, very end. I'm like, you know what? I want everyone's life to be awesome all throughout the rest of our lives. But I also want to make sure that everybody is crystal clear thinking about like the ultimate lighthouse.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey of different lighthouses for sure. For you, where did the first lighthouse start? Because I know that obviously it was with your mom.
Yeah.
And from what I'm aware of, like that first like skill, you didn't know the how, but it became real estate.
Yep.
And, real estate led to then you coaching people real estate. Like, how did your real estate career start?
Man, through desperation. um, sometimes being young and naive and being a little foolish is just such a gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
There's
just
so many
such a
things I would
gift.
have never started if I knew
it's
how
just
hard
a-
it was.
Such a gift of like, just not even, because if you did the statistics of real estate or doing your own thing, you probably wouldn't start. And I think that would be such a travesty for so many people. Because you don't have to be a statistic, right? You're in control of your own destiny. Uh, for me, again, like I said, my mom was the first lighthouse. I started cutting and selling firewood in high school, and I started buying wrecked cars, fixing them up and selling them. By the time I was out of high school, that's what I was doing.
Mm.
And then when I was 17 years old, I got into my first real estate deal with no money down. And I just always, people said, hey, if you don't have money, you can get into real estate with no money down. I had no clue what that meant. I'm old enough that there was an infomercial on TV with a guy named Carlton Sheets, and he always never bought his program, but it was the no money down real estate offer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? So I'll just go a little detail because you have people that
Yeah.
understand real estate. So at 17 or 18 years old, I just knocked on a gazillion doors of houses for sale, like physically knocked. Like I'd find a house for sale and I'd go meet the people and say, if it's not selling, and I just try to make deals with all of them if they would hold the mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
if they would lease with the option to buy. And I just got so many no's. I'm just trying to figure it out. I wasn't smart enough to read books or get a course from somebody back then. And there wasn't a lot, right?
Yep.
But long story short, there was a woman named Mary LaPresti. I still remember her name. And she had her house for sale for quite some time. And I met her and became friends with her. I went to, I'm Italian and she was Italian. And I went to her house for Italian pasta dinner on Sunday, like 2 Sundays in a row. I'm becoming friends with her, trying to buy her house. Long story short, I find out that her husband passed away. She had a 3-family house and she lived in the first story, in the first apartment. And there was 2 other apartments above it. And she wanted $180,000 for the house. And she had offered 170, 175. She wouldn't budge. It was a little high for the house. So long story short, I just want to tell you, because I had no money and because you're desperate and because when you're desperate, you get resourceful. So I would remind everybody, even if you're not desperate anymore, use resourcefulness as if you're desperate. Because when you're desperate, you find a way. If you're gonna die and you're in a situation, do everything in your power to get out of it. I felt like I was dying back then, not having money, gonna live the same life my father did. I didn't want that. I didn't want to be broke. I didn't want to let someone else control my life. I went to pasta. I went to Sunday dinner. I listened to Mary LaPresti, and here's what she told me. You'll appreciate this, Ryan. She said, my husband died 2 years ago, and he said, sell this house and move to Florida so you have nothing to worry about. But do not sell this house for less than $180,000. And she goes, I have people come offer me 172. And she thought every low offer insulted her dead husband.
Mm.
That's what I came to realize. So I went back on the third Sunday and I said, Mary, I want to give you the $180,000 for this house. She almost cried. She hugged me. I said, but the truth is, I don't have a lot of money. So here's what we do. Can I buy it as a lease option? I'll give you $5,000 down. How much is your new condo going to be in Florida? She goes, $2,000 a month. I said, I'll give you $5,000 down, $2,000 a month. Give me 18 months and I'll give you the rest with no interest. She didn't care about any of the payments. I gave her the 180. And I remember it just taught me the art of the deal. It taught me about meeting people where they are. Like, nobody listened to this woman. If someone would have just taken 5 minutes and heard this woman and listened, it wasn't just about the negotiating. I didn't pay interest. I got it with barely any money down. Instead of giving the bank money or 20% down, I put all the money in renovating. She left when she was gone for 6 months, I renovated the whole place. I put 3 people in it. I went to the bank. It appraised for probably $280,000. I pulled money out, made extra money, paid her off, and then I started buying houses and apartments and ended up having 30 apartments. And then I was buying raw land and building houses and selling houses. And then I got into wholesaling and the whole journey. But it started with Mary Lopresti.
That's crazy. 17 years old, buying your first house with just watching infomercials, getting inspired.
Yeah.
And it's funny, that's actually how I got started too, in a way. Not 17, but I saw an infomercial from a guy, I think it was the guy out here, Scott Yancey, back in the day. And, same thing, talking about buying houses with no money. And at that point, I had already been a realtor for 4 years. And I'm like, that's not true. Like, I would have heard about this way to buy. They would have taught me this in realtor school. There's no way to buy a house without money.
It's like they would have taught me in medical school that you should eat better.
Yeah. But then something within me told me to look into it. And so I just pulled out my phone. And I was like, can you buy houses with no money? And then sure enough, like websites like Bigger Pockets started popping up and all these things. And I was like, oh, there's this thing called wholesaling. There's like hard money lenders. There's private lenders. There's lease option. I've never been taught any of this.
Yeah.
So I went and I bought all their books and I just started reading them. And I was like, oh, I could do this. I'm a hustler. I know how to find deals. I can make this happen. And so it was like that one piece of information that just changed everything. So similar to you, just seeing an infomercial.
Yeah. So many people ask, at this phase, if I do podcasts or interviews, people say, what's the one secret to success? I think especially when somebody's maybe in a career that's unfulfilling and they're dying to get out and they're kind of in, 1 foot out, it feels so daunting on what real success could look like. Could I ever get there? Could I really escape from this career that I don't like and do my own thing? Could I flip real estate? Could I be a wholesaler?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes people are hoping that there's this like, what's the magic? Hold on, let me pull it out of my back pocket.
Yeah.
Somebody gave
There's
me
a
this.
thing
Don't
no one
tell
knows.
anybody.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. And angels come out and sunshine. But if I had to boil it down at this phase of my life, I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years. Imagine that.
It's crazy.
I've been in this industry for almost 30. It really boils down to 3 things. 1, model proven practices.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to figure it out on your own. It takes too long. Right? I remember being in my 20s going, no, I got to figure this out. It's so silly. Someone has already done what you're trying to do. Learn from them. Do whatever it takes. Cut a check for speed. Model proven practices. Number 2, you have to just keep going. You have to persist until you succeed. You're going to fail. You're going to question yourself. You're going to doubt yourself, especially in the silence. Most people aren't going to understand you, especially people with more traditional 9-to-5 mindset. They're going to think you're nuts. They're going to think you're a dreamer, but you got to keep persisting till you succeed. And lastly, you just got to keep taking uncomfortable action. Like you just got to keep moving forward, even when it's uncomfortable. And then there's a time, and if you model proven practices, you keep going and you take action, you got to look at it like it's hard in the beginning, but I would rather live the hard way for a few years so I could live easier for decades.
Yeah.
Than live unfulfilled for 30 or 40 in a career.
Yeah.
Right.
You're guaranteed failure.
You're guaranteed, right?
That's what I tell people all the
You're going to get
time.
to the end and go,
yeah,
I missed it.
If you're already unhappy with what you do and you make no changes, you're guaranteed to fail. Like it's just, nothing will change. You have to take a risk. So for you, you took a risk. you start real estate, you
Yep.
do really well. It's how you really start making some wealth. At what point did you finally start getting into education and infomercials and everything else?
Good point. Good question. At 27 or 20, I'd say 28 years old, Tony Robbins infomercial.
Okay.
Literally watched it, bought Personal Power, which was one of his first programs. It was so long ago that it was on a cassette tape with a Sony Walkman, and I'm
Okay. So
walking
just
every day
audio.
with the orange earbuds. Anybody older would recognize that, but um, and I remember something happened as I was listening to Tony. I mean, just he's the GOAT, right? Like you said earlier. Like I realized life happened for me, not to me. I could take all the stuff in my past and I could change my past in that moment. I could say my past is the thing that would hold me back, or my past is the thing that could fuel me. I
Mhm.
don't know if you ever saw that I don't know if it's real, but it was twins. One of them was a drug addict and broke, and one of them was extremely wealthy. And they interviewed both of them, and they said to the drug addict who was struggling with life, "Why are you like this?" He's like, "My father was an alcoholic that beat us. How could I not be?" And then when they asked the successful twin, "How are you so successful?" He said, "My father was an alcoholic and beat us. How could I not be?"
Same thing.
Yeah. One used it as an anchor, one used it as fuel. And I think that was the biggest takeaway feeling I had from Tony. Like, damn, my past is perfect for me. So I have dyslexia. So I didn't go to school. So my parents were a little nuts. So I don't have money. Great. That was all designed for me to be this man. So it was hugely transformational. I realized you could change your story, change your life. All the things that everybody knows about Tony Robbins. That was the first time I was experienced to it. But the second thing it did for me, just like literally was so crystal clear, is Tony sold me information. Like it was stuff that he experienced. Like he didn't have to put it in a warehouse. He didn't have to ship it. He didn't have to pay for it. He didn't have to air condition it. It didn't have an expiration date, but it was some of the most valuable stuff I ever paid for. And I decided to go in the industry that day. I'm like, hey, I'm not worth $100 million, but I was a broke kid who's doing really well in real estate. I retired my parents, and
Yeah.
I was I had 30 houses. I was flipping houses. I'm like, hey, what if I could just show somebody how to get in their first house? Not how to make $100 million, how to get in your first investment house.
Yeah.
And that was literally the start of the whole thing.
How did you learn? Like what? I mean, because clearly it's funny, and you know this, a lot of real estate guys all want to do education at some point, and they're not the same skills really at all.
Not even close.
Yeah. And so they're like, why? I mean, I'm bigger than Dean or Ryan. I do more deals. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know any of the skills. They're not even close to the same. Um, so I'm wondering, like at that time too, with very little information available, everything was very not like today
Yeah,
where
it
you can
wasn't. You couldn't go online. There was no
yeah.
online, so you couldn't search it.
Like,
Yeah.
how did you realize, like, okay, yeah, I want to teach people. I'm gonna go run infomercials and do
Oh,
events
it
and
was
all.
brutal. And think about, it's why Tony and I built mastermind.com. So when people want to sell what they know, when they want to teach people, it doesn't just happen naturally. Like you
No.
need a path, you need a
Yep.
plan, you need a blueprint, you know? But I have to say that you're so spot on. So think about this. Think about if you had to start and the first thing you had to do was produce $150,000 infomercial, right? So I had to spend 150 grand for the infomercial.
Whoa.
And then I had to buy 50,000 in media just to test it,
Yeah. You don't know
right?
if it's gonna work.
You don't know if it's gonna work. And then I had to put back then it was CDs and DVDs and booklets in the warehouse. And I had to pay a warehouse company. Then I had to pay a phone center to pick up the phone
Yep.
and answer. And I remember being about 200 grand in, when 200 grand might as well have been 200 million bucks to me. Like, and half of it was on credit card.
Yep.
I remember being about 200 grand in. I remember my sister driving from Virginia to New York, which is about a 7-hour drive, to sit me down like a intervention, like she was helping me get off drugs, to tell me how crazy I was, that I'm going to go broke and that was insane and stop being a dreamer. And I remember, you got to hear this. Think about this, Brian. My first product was $59.95.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I'll tell you a little more how I got on TV, but I remember the day when I'm like 200 grand in, I'm running a collision shop, auto sales, apartments, and I'm building houses. And I start this info business in New York. I'm in upstate New York at the time. And the show goes on. And I remember somebody from the team called me and said, "You got your first sale." And I was like so stoked. And then I'm like, wait, I got a $59 sale.
I got to sell a lot of units.
Like, it hit me that day, Ryan. I'm like, oh man, maybe my sister was right. You know what I mean? Like, I got a long way to go. But back then, I'll tell you what I had to do. I had no idea how to get on TV. Clueless. And then I found there was a guy named Don Lepre who was on TV for ages with an infomercial on tiny classified ads. And I knew he lived in Arizona. And he had gone out of business. And I called and called and called till I found somebody that used to work for him buying their media. I flew out to Arizona. I met the media buyer. Then I met the customer service manager. I hired 2 or 3 of them. I'm hustling. And I was commuting from New York to Arizona back and forth. I'd make money in real estate and cars, and I'd dump it in my education business until it was empty. And the team would be like, we're out of money again. Like, I'd go back home, flip a house, sell some cars, and dump it back into the information industry. Because the difference of today, why I love people have the opportunity to test small. I mean, you could test with $1,000.
Yep.
I was 200 grand in to see if it works. So
you had to produce high quality things. You had to prepay all this stuff. I used to run TV commercials to buy houses. So I spent millions on TV as well. Not infomercials, but just 30-second spots. And I think about that a lot too, because majority of our deals in real estate now come from Facebook ads. The same thing with education and stuff. But I'm like, oh my gosh, Facebook, you could start an ad tomorrow or today.
Absolutely.
And like, go spend $50 a day, try this thing out, get some data that don't exist on TV.
No, it doesn't. And there's no
data on TV.
There's no, and I always tell people say to me all the time, how do you, we just did our 13th event in a row, Tony and I, that has averaged 1 million people registered.
That's crazy.
So we've been anywhere from 500,000 to 2.5 million people. It's our 13th one. This one just had 1.25 million people. And I feel blessed to say that. I'm not saying that bragging. I feel blessed. But people say to me, how do you do that? And I said, because I started with infomercials. And I had to make it so, like, I used to think of people, infomercials used to annoy people. People didn't like infomercials.
Yeah.
Right. So first I had to get over the stigma of I didn't like infomercials in the first place. And then I used to think of, I can't target my audience, right? You'd buy on CNN, Fox, Discovery Channel. You'd buy on all these channels. And then I remember watching all the data and trying to say, oh, this one's got a cost per acquisition. It's here. Let's play more of this. And sometimes CNBC at 5 a.m. was $5,000 and CNBC at 6 a.m. was $5,000. The 5 a.m. would crush it. You go to play at 6 a.m., tank, like all these different things. So imagine,
you're like, why is the 5 a.m. killing it?
You think of now, like you can watch your ROAS and your return on ad spend on ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, so much easier. So I'm trying to figure this whole algorithm out. And it was just pure insanity. But the fact of the matter is, because of that, I used to think of this, and this comes to marketing. It might help any of you that are marketing right now. I used to think back then that I had 2 minutes to capture somebody. Now we got like maybe 2 seconds.
Yep.
But back then I thought in an infomercial, I have 2 minutes to capture somebody. So every 2-3 minutes, I wanted to be so compelling that I used to think of a busy mom or a busy dad, either one, come home from work. They're trying to put something on the stove. Maybe they got a kid in one hand. They're stirring, the sauce or whatever they're making. They turn on the TV. And I said, I have to be so compelling because they're not targeted, that when that person sees, even though they're busy handling the kid, handling the food, I have to be so compelling that they have to put the kid down to play. They have to shut the stove off and go sit on the couch and watch me for a half hour.
Yeah.
And then when the call to action happened, you didn't click a button. You had to pick up the phone, dial it.
A lot of friction.
Sit on hold. Wait for an operator that probably is $7 an hour. So they're not the most compelling. They're not salespeople. They're order takers.
Yep.
Wait online, go find your credit card, pull it out. Like, think of all the friction. So when people say, how do you do it now? It's like, because to me, like when I started, I had to walk uphill in the snow both ways to school, like our grandparents used to say, right? So to me, this seems so much easier that I can target my ideal audience. I can speak into them. I could segment my list. I could segment how we market to people. So I think it was so much harder then that I find this easier.
Yeah.
Compared to starting here. And I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just visualizing it and I'm like, yeah, we got it pretty easy today, And yeah, is it because it's easier? Is it, let's say, more competitive today? Probably. Like there was
Of
way less
course,
people doing it
barrier to
back then.
entry is easy.
Yeah, since the barrier to entry is easy, but like, man, the tools and resources and data and everything we have available today is so much better.
Yeah, and I have to tell you,
And there's way less risk.
of course,
Just start instant.
I have to tell you, I know you and I both know that there's people in this industry that don't care about their clients like they should. They don't have the best product in the world. But overall, I love this industry. Like I love it with all of me because it's the opportunity to have specialized knowledge. You know, traditional school, and I'm not trying to knock it, but it's very general, right? I think the last statistic was 76% of people who get a degree don't use it. 76%.
Yeah.
And 50% of the people who do hate the job that they're in. Like they're not great statistics. So for us and for me, why I love this industry is you can go find specialized knowledge in any niche you want to get good at. You don't have to learn all the other general stuff. You can just learn if I want to learn to wholesale and I want to flip one house a month, I don't have to go to algebra. I don't have to go to English. I don't have to take Spanish. I go to Ryan and say, teach me just how to flip one house a month. It's special. So you see my hands. If you're listening, you can't see my hands. It's like, I think of general knowledge as this wide thing that overwhelms you. It's like, oh, where do I go? How do I go? How do I piece it all together compared to narrow and deep? Just tell me how to market to find a deal. Tell me how to market to find a buyer. Tell me how to negotiate so I can make some money. That's specialized knowledge to me. How could you not love that? Like we're giving people these tools in these lanes. You condense decades into days. You allow people to go what might have taken them 10 years, they could do in 10 months.
Yep.
I don't know. I absolutely love it. It's I'll spend the rest of my life in this industry.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And the other part too is even the tools just keep getting easier and easier. You know, you talked about how hard it was to figure out somebody who knew infomercials and media buying and all this stuff. And it's like, you guys will teach people, okay, here's how you're going to create your program. Here's how you can run an ad. And it's like, dude, running a Facebook ad is pretty simple these days. Like anybody could go and just go set it up an ad right now. Now, are you going to be an expert? No, but like you could literally start running it
Absolutely.
right now. Versus you couldn't do that back then, right? So, you're doing real estate. Obviously, you're figuring it out. You're doing these infomercials. You guys are just killing it, doing great. At what point do you stop doing real estate? Like, where does this stuff with Tony start to begin? Like, how long did you do that?
So I did real estate for about
real estate education,
nearly 20 years.
Wow. What years was that?
So started in 98. I started in 98 or 99 and went to, 2015.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And we were able to touch the lives of so many people. At one point, we were doing 40 live events a week.
Whoa.
Around the country here in the States. And then we started going around the world.
Was that like the progression? You started with CDs and just kind of like courses?
And then, the progression was, I didn't understand, like you watch Russell now or you watch, like, it's obvious people go, oh, that's a value ladder or that's a funnel. I didn't know what any of that meant, Ryan. Like if someone would have said a lead magnet, I didn't even know what a lead magnet was until like when people said it 5 years ago, I figured it out. Like I didn't start, like that wasn't my terminology.
Yeah.
I started selling a course and then I realized I'd sell a course and people would go, wow, this is great, but I really need help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I should get them some accountability. So we created a coaching department, not because I thought that was the next rung on the value ladder, because so many of our clients are like, hey, it's like, you sold me the gym membership. I love that the gym has all the equipment, but I'm not working out unless I get a coach.
Yep.
It's like, oh, we got to get coaches. So then we took our most successful students and turned them into coaches. That's how I started my coaching program.
Got it.
And then we turned coaching. And then we realized as we were doing that, I wrote a book on real estate and that thing took off wildly. I sold 1 million copies of my first book on real estate. It was called Be a Real Estate Millionaire. And we wrote that during the shift in 2007. I taught people how to wholesale in a down market. I said, don't try to buy and hold. Don't try to fix and flip. Just find landlords, lock up properties, and just make a little.
It's funny because, real estate's been in a down market like the last couple of years. And like, that's the same thing I just did the last year. I'm like, guys, don't even worry about flips right now. Just wholesale.
Literally, I was the only one. And there was like 2 other people on at infomercials at the time, and they were talking about fix and flip and buy and hold. And my infomercial like, do not try to fix and flip. By the time I said, by the time you buy it, by the time you buy it, fix it up and go to flip it, it's going to be worth 10% less because it was free falling there. It wasn't gradual. It was dropping. I said, here's what you do. In your area, and we taught them at the time, go find people who own 3 houses or more. You don't want the big industrial buyers. You want the mom and pop that has 3, 5, 7 houses, 20 houses. Find them, make a list of them, and go hunting and find them deals they can't find on their own. And then that book went viral, 1 million copies, and business went to a whole nother level. And then we realized that sometimes people want proximity. So we started doing small events in different cities, and that just went wild. And we ended up doing, 30, 40 events a week around the country. And through that whole time, and I wrote a book called Millionaires Success Habits, probably a decade ago now. And I just started my friendship with Tony a few years earlier. And it made me realize that whether it's real estate, now Tony and I own mastermind.com. We teach people how to, sell what they know, sell their life experience, course, coach, consultant. It just made me realize that the foundation for success is the same. If you want to plug in real estate or plug in whatever you want to plug in, you need this foundation, these little things that are actually the big things. That's why I wrote Millionaire Success Habits. Didn't have any way in the book how to get rich. It was all the foundation for success. And that book took off. And I wanted to be in the space of foundation. Like I wanted to be in that personal development. Yeah, more personal development. Just give people, because so many people would call customer service and they wouldn't say, oh, your education's bad. They're like, my husband's not into it with me. Or my friends are telling me this. Or I just don't feel I'm good enough. Or I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, no. So in that transition, then Tony and I had been friends for about 5 years. We hadn't, I'll tell you something. Tony obviously was a big influence in my life. It was his course that shifted my life. And I remember writing in my journal ages ago, someday I want to meet him. So a friend of ours, a mutual friend, hooked us up. We ended up spending a day together. And then 2 weeks later, I flew down to his house. We spent another day together. And we just hit off this friendship. Had so much in common. I felt really blessed to have this friendship. And I watched how many people wanted to be partners with him and do business with him. And I made a commitment to myself. My business was already doing well. I'm like, no partnership. Never going to bring it up. Never. Even if he brings it up, Tony's my friend. I'm not going to mix.
You don't want to ruin this.
I don't want to ruin it. Because every time I saw he'd have a friend, he'd talk, they finally hit me up on it. They finally hit me up. I'm like, I ain't going to be the guy that ever hits you up on it. But about 7 years ago, we were on a golf course together. I golf twice a year, so does he. We golf together 2 times a year.
I was going to say, man.
Golfing with Tony's pretty cool because he just golfs. I never thought of it this way. He just golfs the holes he likes.
What?
It's the greatest golfing experience of my life. We get there. He's like, what kind of, do you like mountain? Do you like the water? I'm like, I like the water. He's like, all right, let's go to hole 3. It's got some great water. We get done playing and he's like, do you like this hole? I'm like, yeah, let's play it again. And if there's somebody on there, Tony Robbins walks up, he's 6'8".
They're going to play.
They're like, Mr. Robbins, do you mind if we play through? No, I'll sit right here. Like,
I've never heard of anyone play this way.
Greatest experience of my life. Like if you play water holes, he goes, let's just play all the water holes. Let's play all the mountain holes. I'm like, damn, this is amazing, right? So we're on a golf course in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, about 8 years ago. And we were joking. Everything was perfect. The weather was perfect.
The Discovery Properties?
Yeah. Yep. And we're playing this. There's nobody else on the course.
Okay.
We're playing the holes we like.
Yeah.
At one point, like the sun is going down and it felt like somebody said, cue the deer. Like the deer come out and there's the deer there. The sun's going down. The weather's perfect. And Tony said, if we were going to do a business together, what do you think we should do? And we got talking about the self-education industry. If you know who Jim Rohn is.
Yep.
Old school personal development. Tony went to a Jim Rohn event when he was 17, when he was living out of the back of his Volkswagen bus. He got his mail at the 7-Eleven down the street. It cost him $50 to go to this Jim Rohn event, which he said might as well, it was a week's pay. And he said he wrote down every word and it just shifted his life. And then he went back and took another $1,000 course from Jim Rohn. Then he went to work for Jim Rohn. And he started teaching Jim Rohn stuff and then started teaching his own. And that's the rest
I didn't know he
history.
worked for him. Okay.
Yeah. The rest is history. It's how Tony started. For me, I was doing pretty well, but I knew I was meant for more. I just couldn't figure out how to achieve it. And I bought Tony Robbins' course when I was 27.
Yep.
Self-education. Changed my life. So we're on the golf course. Said, what's the thing that shifted our lives more than anything? It was self-education. At that time, he had 40 years in, or 38 years in. I had 22 years in or whatever it was. And we said, why don't we just pull back the curtain and teach people everything we learned in 70 years of doing this? Hence how we started Mastermind. So, and
So
we
it
also,
became more of teaching how to do self-education.
right, rather
Because
than,
he was already doing,
exactly. I mean,
personal development.
he still does personal
Yeah.
development. So then we said, why not teach people that their life experience, a skill they have, a hobby that they love, a passion that they have, might be the most valuable asset they own, and teach people to do what we've done. How do you
Yeah.
turn that experience into a course, a coaching program, a membership, a community? And that was how.
Would you say that like you two at that point were like the two biggest guys in the education space?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
In terms of just volume and everything else.
Yeah, and
Nobody
I don't
really-
say that
and
to-
experience.
Yeah,
too.
and I don't say that like, look, I mean, Tony's far ahead of me. He's 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years ahead of me. But I don't know anybody that's been in the space longer than me except for Tony. I don't know anybody that's done close to a couple $1 billion of sales except for Tony. And I don't know anybody who's changed more lives than Tony. And that's at this phase of my life, especially, that's all I want to do is, I love having a thriving business. Please don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But my thriving business is a byproduct of the lives we changed. In my 20s or 30s, it would be like, I sell a lot and then we change lives. Now I get to say, we change lives. Oh, by the way, our businesses are doing pretty well. So that collaboration was just fantastic, right? This is the guy I admire. I mean, if you said to me, Ryan, 20 years ago, you can meet anybody in the world, have dinner with him and thank him, who would it be? It would have been Tony. So how cool. I mean, I'm humble enough to say that guy shifted my life, like in a big way, he shifted my life. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you how that journey. So we ended up partnering together. We filmed our first course together. He hadn't filmed a course in a long time. And I went to Florida. We spent a week together, filmed this course at the time when we launched it. It was called the Knowledge Business Blueprint. I don't know if you remember that launch. It's I think it's still the biggest launch in internet history. Russell was there, and he was freaking out.
For people who don't understand what that means, what does that mean?
We created a course teaching people how to enter the knowledge industry, to realize and identify that their life experience was valuable.
Yeah.
So how to teach that skill, that experience, that passion you have to other people so they could go faster. When people say to me, I don't know if my life experience is valuable, I say, if I could give you $1 million today, or I could wave a magic wand and send you back to spend a week with your 20-year-old self, what would you choose? I've never had anybody take the $1 million. They all want to go back.
Yeah.
And I say, well, your experience is that valuable to somebody else. You just need to know how to package it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what Tony and I created. We taught people how to identify their experiences that are valuable, how to package it, how to market, how to get people to say yes through service, and how to turn it into a part-time or a full-time business. So we created a course called the Knowledge Business Blueprint to teach people how to do masterminds and workshops and build a course.
Got it.
And then we did a launch, meaning we had 1 day live that Tony and I were going to go live. And back then, if you had 10, 15,000 people in a live, it was huge. And we had 250,000 people show up for our first one. And it was unbelievable. We went from 0 to 100 pretty damn fast. And that launched Mastermind, and that launched us. And now over the last 8 years, we've done, on May 15th, we're doing our third big 3-day event for free. It's kind of exposing who we are and what we do and how we help people.
Yeah.
We should have 800,000 to 1 million people registered for that. And Mastermind, it's become a movement. It's pretty amazing. But I'll share one of the.
You said that's May 15th though?
May 15th.
Where can they register?
I don't know the exact URL. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes.
Yep, we'll put it in the description.
You put it in the description, but it's a 3-day event. Myself, Tony Robbins, we got Jay Shetty coming, Matthew McConaughey coming, because we did a big event with Matthew. He's a great guy, and some other incredible guests. But the whole 3 days is to show people that how to monetize their mind. Their experience is valuable. But instead of being like the wild, wild west and trying to figure it out on your own, let's show you how to identify what's valuable, how to package it, how to use AI to go a lot quicker, and how to make it real. We've been working for 1.5 years on an AI that thinks like Tony and I. I'm going to send it to you. You'll lose your mind.
Yeah, I love that. And for people listening too, like what are some examples of skill sets that people are using or experiences?
Yeah, the cool part is now that we've been doing it for 8 years, we have thousands and thousands. I mean,
like what professions?
The crazy part, if I think of like skills, we have picture an accountant who left being an accountant or a CFO and started their own business.
I know somebody who, or I heard of somebody doing a bookkeeping, teaching people how to be bookkeepers, making crazy
Yeah, I mean,
$100 million a year teaching people how to do it. It's crazy.
do you know who Andy Elliott is?
Yep.
Okay. Do you know Andy
Yeah,
Elliott?
Andy told me the story about how you talked to him behind the scenes about stop making people take their shirts off and showing another side of them.
Yeah, but do you know Andy was a car salesman?
Yep.
Who was at that first launch,
Yep.
asked his wife if he could buy Tony and I's product,
Yep.
got Knowledge Business Blueprint back then. Now we call it the Mastermind Business System, but he watched the training, got enrolled, and started following what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we have people like that who's, I think he's doing over $100 million a year. And we have about 60% women who were badass moms, PTA mom, or great in their career and finally want to do their own thing. We have a woman that's crushing it, helping other women through menopause naturally.
Wow.
We have other people helping women find themselves after they have a baby. They call it like trimester 4, how to get past the depression and the craziness. I mean, we are in this industry is right now at $1 billion a day. They predict by 2027, $1 trillion a year. People are realizing the fastest way to get from where you are to where you want to be is find somebody who's already done it. So what we do at Mastermind is show you how to identify that thing. We have people that are hairstylists. We have salespeople. We have people teaching people how to fly fish, how to paint. I mean, it's so cool to watch.
Do you think people are just going to start learning this way going forward? They're like, screw
college.
Zero
doubts. Yeah. You know, when people say the market's oversaturated, I think it's just begun. I'm telling you, it's just begun. The traditional education system is failing everyone. Let's just be honest and say it like it's real. Most of them have huge endowments. They're wealthy as hell. 76% of people, like I said earlier, are not using their degree.
Yep.
The cost is ridiculous. It outpaces inflation about 3 to 1. Our typical education system is failing us. Why would you go to school to get a degree with general knowledge when you can find somebody doing this specific thing that you want to do and learn from someone who's already been there?
Yeah.
I think this is going to totally, I think though it's $1 billion a day industry, Ryan, I think we've only seen the tip of where it's going. And that's why we tell people, get out in front of it. And that's on May 15th. We take 3 days, about 3 hours a day, and just show people why they should be in it. And here's what I know. If you attend, and it's free, not kind of free, totally free. We only do it free one time a year. You'll leave there with capabilities to take your business to the next level, no matter what business you're in. And we hope you stay and end up doing business with Tony and I. But either way, it's not like, and I'm not knocking webinars. The webinars are great, but it's not like an hour webinar that's just a presentation.
Yeah.
This is 3 days of hardcore. You leave there with your journal filled.
Yeah,
Tony has no choice.
You can't do fluff for 3 hours a day,
Yeah.
3 days in a row.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. I love that. So May 15th, people can do that. And I agree with you.
This year we're calling it Thrive in 2025.
Thrive in 2025.
Yep.
I love it. So it's funny because I just think about that too. It's like people can join mastermind.com if they want to learn how to take their skill and turn it into coaching, or learn how to wholesale, or learn how to do that. And they can learn it really fast. I mean, this isn't like a 4-year program where, okay, after
Absolutely.
4 years, then you make money.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, you could make money this month. You could make money next month. Like,
Can I tell you, mind if I, please keep your thought, but I want to tell you, I'm going to break our code here. My son, I have an 18-year-old daughter, 16-year-old son, 5-year-old son. He just turned 5 2 days ago, and a 2-year-old daughter. My 16-year-old son, I don't know where he comes from, but he's obsessed with school. Like since 5th grade, the kid gets nothing but A's. I'm never on his back, self-motivated. He's in a really difficult high school, still straight A's, wants to go to college. So he comes home the other day and he wanted to be a doctor for a while. My daughter, my 18-year-old, is more like me. She's going to be an entrepreneur, innovator, creator. She doesn't really like school. So anyway, he comes to me and he said, my guidance counselor at school said I should be a doctor, and the ones that make the most money, and I'm smart enough, and all my abilities lean towards an anesthesiologist.
Yeah.
And he said, I looked it up. I can make like $380,000 a year first year.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, hey, if that's your jam, kid, I said, but I have to tell you, like, I'm just being honest. Like, I have to tell 12 years. It takes 12. So they told him it's 12 years of school. There's no way around it. Right. I'm like, I got to tell you, kid, I know you love school. I do not want to take away your dreams. But man, that feels like a death sentence. 12 years.
AI is going to figure it out.
Yeah, 12 years to to start making that money.
Yeah.
And I said, but if that's your dream, I want to tell you, if that is your passion and you absolutely love it, I will support you. You'll be the best anesthesiologist on the planet. And I think about that, like so much time to get something started, so much cost in school. When there are things, I said, maybe fall in love with finance. I said, if you love the art of the deal, maybe you love real estate. That's my life. I said, you could be doing real estate deals in 6 months from now. Like if he wanted to wholesale, I'd send him to learn from you because kids don't want to learn from their parents anyway, right? But in 6 months, he could be wholesaling deals, using his brain, being smart, creating standing operating procedures, processes, systems. Like the days of like 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 years before you start, I think they're gone. I don't think, who wants to do it? And thank God we have people who do it so they become doctors and lawyers and engineers that need that. But man, that seems like it's brutal to me.
I think about that too. And I'm like, you see ChatGPT and AI already starting to like catch doctor mistakes and do lawyer stuff and, accounting and all that. You're just like, 10 years from now, it may not be what it for sure will not be what it currently is today.
Yeah.
Like AI and all this is going to change a lot of those
without a doubt
huge college careers. But no, I think it's awesome. And I think anybody who is, everyone's an expert in something. Everyone has life experience. They can all share it to some degree, or to a big degree. But one thing I want to talk to you about is like, okay, let's say that's for the beginners who are just thinking about this. So a lot of people who watch are also experienced. They're already in this space. They're already doing things. And I know you guys have high-level masterminds and different things for those kinds of people. I want to talk about just the back end of all of this, because you guys have obviously done, billions of dollars, been in it so long. How does it work now with you and Tony as far as like, who does what? Like, are you said, hey, I'm in the nitty gritty day to day of like creatives and ROAS and all these terms. And I don't see Tony doing that. I see Tony like being the face and, doing what he does. Like what's the dynamic like?
Good. Great question, man. A great question. Tony calls me, he calls me Picasso sometimes, and he calls me the architect. And I'll call him the greatest of all time. Like there's no one that can climb into your soul. If you've ever seen I'm Not Your Guru, if you've never been to a Tony event, watch I'm Not Your Guru. You watch a master at work that just understands the human condition better than any person I've ever met in my life. I've never seen him take someone on with a challenge, whether they want to commit suicide or they've gone through the most horrific things in the world, and him not turn them around and make it lasting. So the cool part about our partnership of coming together is I've also been the forward-facing guy and New York Times bestseller, and I do my own ads and all that kind of stuff. But I've really obsessed on marketing for 25 years and obsessively for the last 10, because and this is something I'm sure you feel, but if you empower this, embody this, like I love what I do so much that I feel it's a disservice for me not to be great at marketing. Because if I don't get someone's credit card, I know that might sound harsh.
Yeah.
There's only 2 things that can happen. They suffer in silence and they never reach the dreams that they have, or they buy from somebody who doesn't care as much as I do.
Yeah.
When I think about those 2 things, I need to be the best in the world at my craft. So if you think about the partnership coming together, is I never want Tony to do one other thing that he does. I just want to magnify his audience.
Yeah.
So we've done the biggest Unleash the Power Within in history since him and I teamed up, because I'm good at bringing people in.
So you took over doing his personal development stuff too.
Kind of the architect. So let me just, I'll share the evolution.
Yeah.
So you understand it. And then I want to share something I think is really powerful for any business, no matter if you're in real estate, in this industry, self-education industry. So remind me of that.
Yeah.
Remind me of keeping the end in mind.
Yep.
So we started with us starting Mastermind as co-founders. And in that, I'm the architect, the engineer, creating the products. I hired the team running it. And Tony and I partner on high level stuff.
Yeah.
Right. We do the courses, the training together. We lay it out with our philosophies. Him and I, we have a great way of doing business. We leave voice memos for each other almost every single night. He goes to bed at 4. I wake up at 4. So it's pretty
He goes to bed at 4 a.m.?
Every night.
What does he do?
He works from about 11 to 4 is when he like has nobody bugs him because the world's asleep. He's a hustler.
Like, what's his work that he's
He
doing?
catches
at that
up
time?
on everything. He's got over 100 companies that he's involved in right now.
So he's just looking at data.
He's looking at
emails.
data, getting things done, sending out his emails. His emails are 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I start at
And you wake up.
I wake up. So we joke that we got the world covered 24 hours a day, right? So we started and created this business with voice memos and then meeting once a week and then in person once a quarter. And just our philosophies, but I architected, put it together. I built the company, and that's Mastermind.
Yeah.
Then when COVID hit, Tony's main company, his personal development company, which is Robbins Research International, RRI, is a live event company for 40 years.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's no such thing as live events.
Yeah.
And they're
Crazy.
shut down.
Yep.
And they're waiting for it to open up. And they were waiting for, Tony was making a deal with Joel Osteen to use his, use his church that holds 15,000, and they shut that down.
Yeah.
And Tony called me one day. He goes, "Brother, what are we going to do?" And I said, "You're going to have to go virtual." And he's like, "I can't." And if you've ever been to a Tony event, Tony does these interventions where he comes and stands a foot from your face, and he'll spend 10 minutes or 2 hours with you until he gives you that breakthrough.
Wow.
And he's like, "Dean, I can't go virtual. How am I going to do these breakthroughs?" Like this man had tears in his eyes. Like, how am I going to change these people's lives? I can't do it through a little screen. So we got creative. We got innovative. I'm like, let me propose something to you. And that's when we came up with this big old studio where you could see 3,000 people at once. I don't know if you ever saw the big studios that we built. So we spent $20 million and built that studio.
That's crazy.
And we built a virtual studio where you could see thousands of people with the highest resolution screens. We built an app. If they shake their phone, it gives cheers. So we brought music, we brought entertainment, we brought energy to it.
Whoa.
And we did our first event. We did our first 3-day free event, which we had 800,000 people register for. And then we did the largest Unleash the Power Within ever virtually.
Whoa.
The first year of COVID. And I just went over there to do that in that company because he's my best friend and I love the guy.
Help. Yep.
And
innovation.
And a company that he's put his blood, sweat, and tears in for all this years was just sitting around waiting. And then people are like, well, if there's not going to be live events, so I should just get a refund and I'll buy again. So then it went from not being profitable to just
losing.
And not that Tony, he's fine financially, but he loves the team. It's an ESOP, so the team owns the company.
Yeah.
And
you have to let people go. It's just,
it's like, I don't want to let anybody go. So I jumped over and shifted the whole company from an in-person company, working with an amazing company and his team. We shifted it from an in-person company to this virtual company. And we did our first event and it was unbelievable. I'll just tell you, I won't say numbers, but it was 4 times more successful than anybody thought it was going to be.
Wow.
And we got to now be in 140 countries. Right? From people not having to fly. Now people could meet Tony Robbins for the first time on a screen. The interaction was amazing. Tony call you up on the screen, then he talks to you and he's doing interventions and all this crazy stuff. And he said to me, he's like, "Now that you switched it though, we got to switch the whole company." And he was right. It was a live event company and I was turning it into a direct response company that fueled his personal development.
Yeah.
So, I joke one day we were on a phone call with all the staff and Tony told everybody that Dean's the new CEO. And I remember texting him like, "You should have told me that first as a joke." But I still ran Mastermind.
Yep.
And I went over and just helped. And I say as CEO, that's not a significance thing. I told everybody on the team, I'd do this for free. And how I got the trust of the team, I said, I don't need the money. I don't need Tony as a friend because he's my best friend. I don't need the significance. I'm here because I care about all of you. So, because I was like a stepdad coming in to tell everybody we're doing this, we're doing, at first there was resistance,
well,
right?
It's 40 years of doing the same thing.
And it was resistance. It was heavy resistance. And people were like, does he know what he's doing? Does he know this brand? Is he just Tony's friend? Is he too much sales? Like, and I get all that. They were protective of this man that they've honored and worked for. But we switched over about 3 years. We switched the entire thing to doing amazing virtual events. And we still do the biggest virtual events. And then I slowly was able to put an amazing CMO in place because I was kind of quasi CMO and, I was running the marketing. We switched from just advertising to more direct response. And long story short, we got the company in a really good spot. We slowly put people in place and I still am over there helping, but not at the level it was. For the first year, I was on a Zoom call every hour.
Yeah.
And I would have never done that if he wasn't my dear friend, but But I have to tell you, the biggest byproduct, and you didn't ask this, but I'm going to tell you, the biggest byproduct is every company I've ever built, just like yours now, you build with your culture.
Yep.
From day one, these people know who you are. You got some great people here helping you. They know who you are. They wouldn't work for you if they didn't appreciate your culture.
Mm-hmm.
I went over, inherited 300 employees overnight. I was like a stepdad.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I learned the difference between being effective and efficient. I had to learn how to be effective. I had to learn how to build new relationships, to build trust.
That takes time.
And it probably turned me into a significantly better leader. I'm a great marketer. I'm a great businessman. I'm an innovator. I'm a creator. I'm not sure how great my leadership skills were. Sometimes I cover those with being great at marketing and sales.
Yeah.
It taught me how to be a great leader because people just didn't know me yet. They didn't trust me yet. They didn't know that my decisions would work or not. And man, it took patience. It took time, but I grew as a man. So I look at it as the greatest blessing ever.
Yeah, I think about it as like you really had to come in as an operator and change everything. And it's like the sales and marketing side, let's say it's the front end, and it's like, that's fun. We do these videos, we do these events and everything else. But then it's like the day-to-day, Zoom calls every hour. Nobody cares about I don't want to call it theatrics, but the things you got to do in marketing and sales. It's like, no, this is like day-to-day life of doing all the boring, hard, solving problems, all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it forced me to do things that I usually would avoid.
Yeah.
How
was that going from, dude, I mean, you're a visionary, got your own thing. That's how you've operated for 20-something years. I'm sure you had operators in place doing all that stuff. And then you're essentially now coming in like, hey, I got to be the operator. Like, I'm in the day-to-day behind the scenes.
It was hard. And there was days like, I don't know if I can do this another day. I've never worked for anybody in my life. I've never had a paycheck from anybody else. My first dollar I made was selling a quart of firewood when I was 16 years old. Or actually sold bubble gum before that, not miscellaneous jobs, but real business, firewood business. So I never worked for anybody. But here's how it worked for me. I didn't feel like I was working for anybody. I felt like I was going over to help my dear friend turn around an amazing company, not because of anything they did wrong, because COVID came and shifted the world.
Yeah.
So in my head, that's how I had to look at it. And I looked at it as an unbelievable challenge that I could do for somebody I care about. And he's given me so much. How could I not give back? I had to look at it that way. Because if I looked at it any other way, it would be difficult. And the truth is, maybe over time, like I have zero issues with saying, I don't know if I'd be the man I am today if I didn't meet Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with saying that. And I think it's okay when people can share that. Like I honor him and I see the way he honors Jim Rohn. And I don't know if Tony Robbins would be the man he is if it wasn't for Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn had a guy named Mr. Chef who was his mentor his whole childhood. That was a really, and I Googled Mr. Chef and I found out who he was and he had a mentor, right? So if you think about that, like I have no problem saying that man shifted my life so much that I was okay with taking a couple of years and being, being the guy behind the scenes.
Yeah. No, I love it. So, you mentioned you came in as the CEO and the de facto CMO too. That's how I feel. And I'm okay doing it. I'm not anywhere close to like what you guys are doing, but the thing I've kind of realized is like, there's very few people who understand marketing at an extremely high level.
True story.
And there's very few people who know how to innovate and create ads and funnels and these things that like actually work and convert, and also understanding like the deeper numbers of what to look for. You'd mentioned it early on in the show of like, we get caught up in ROAS and all these things. We have to obsess over these metrics in order for it to be profitable and work, right? And those people forget about the actual customers. Clearly, you guys haven't forgot about the customers, right? Like that's so important to what you do. But I am curious about the boring stuff that people don't see that makes it possible. Because if you don't get those numbers right, you can't help as many people. Like that's basically what you said.
True story.
You're like, hey, I want to just get more people into Tony's world. I'm going to like build this thing out so that now instead of 15,000 people at Joel Osteen's church, we're going to have 800,000 people on this. But I'm going to have to obsess because we're going to spend millions of dollars to do that. We spent $20 million just for the studio.
I know.
So if we spent $20 million on the studio, we better fill that, as much as we can. So Hey, if you're subscribed here, then you're probably interested in real estate investing. But what you may not know is that my company, Wealthy Investor, has completely transformed over the last year. In fact, we are now a full all-in-one platform for real estate investing. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we'll give you everything that you need to be a successful house flipper or wholesaler. That means motivated seller leads every single month, all the softwares you need, true one-on-one coaching and help, as well as the capital for all of your deals. And so if you want to grow your house flipping and wholesaling business, then simply go to wealthyinvestor.com or click the link down below and you can book a call with our team and we'll walk through our different packages to help you get started. And our packages include everything: the leads, the softwares, the coaching, and the capital. There's nothing else like it. It is everything that you need. So go click that link below and check out wealthyinvestor.com. You know, what I would say, to me anyways, once your product's good and everything else, really it just comes down to, what's your customer acquisition cost? What's the lifetime value, right? What are the most important metrics you look at?
So here's something I've just been sharing this recently, especially with some of my friends, is they ask me, how do I look at a business like this? No matter what business you're in, specifically if you're in the self-education industry, for you, I'm sure you have books. I know you wrote a couple great books, right? You have low ticket products that help people, that probably give them great value, but they don't have help. And then you probably have coaching and masterminds, right? So it's like an ascension, right? It's like, hey, if you can read a book and get after it, great. You don't need me.
All good.
Right? But if you need assistance, we got coaches. And if you need to be a part of, you like proximity and being in with people and working together, we have a mastermind, right? And what I realized over the years, and I didn't realize I thought this way until about 3 years ago. Actually, when I was working with Matthew McConaughey, we sold the course to him, and I was thinking through it, and I'm like, oh, that's the way I look at it. So I want everybody to think about it. Is a lot of times in our industry, I'm just going to use an example. Maybe say you write a book, and then your book goes well. You're like, hey, what should I do? Should I do a community? Should I do a membership?
Yeah.
Should I do a course? Should I do a coaching program? And then you do it, and you're like, oh, this is going pretty good. What's next? And what's next? I realized that the best thing I believe we should all do is look at the end in mind. And where do you want your customers to end up? So your ideal client, who's your ideal client?
Most of our people are people who are hustlers looking for a way to build a business. And I'm saying, hey, wholesaling, flipping houses is the business you should choose.
Right. So they're hungry go-getters, realize they're not going to get rich for doing nothing.
Yep.
They just need a path and a plan, right? They need a blueprint.
Yep.
Right? That's your ideal client. And what's their ideal outcome?
Ideal outcome is they start doing deals.
Yeah.
Eventually they use that, start buying some rentals and other things once they're making money from flipping and wholesaling. And they just make real estate their full-time career.
Right. Love it. And then I look at it as like ideal client, ideal outcome, which you just know immediately.
Yep.
And then what is the ideal products that can help facilitate that? And then I like to think, what is the last product, like the ones that go all in and do it, right? So you have a mastermind, you said they meet here quarterly.
Yep.
Right? Awesome. Like that's where you'd love them all to end up in, wouldn't you?
Yes.
That they're doing deals, they're successful. Now you're teaching them how to actually run a business. What I'm guessing about your mastermind, it's not how to get in your first deal anymore. They're in their first deal. It's how do you turn it into a real business?
Yep.
What I used to think, only
way
because
higher
we're in the
level
same
stuff.
business, I used to think to myself, my starter stuff teach you how to do deals. My mastermind teaches you how to be in the deal doing business, right? And so what I realize I like to think about is I want people to end up in my mastermind. If I'm running your business, I want them, the ideal client, they're hungry without a blueprint. I give them the blueprint. They found a way. The ideal outcome is they're doing deals. The ideal product at the end is this mastermind that shows them how to scale it to the moon.
Yep.
And then I reverse engineer all the way to the front of how can I give value in advance? You do that with this podcast. I'm sure you deliver massive value on a regular basis. I'm sure you have free content out there on YouTube and other places, and maybe an ebook that gives value in advance so people can go, oh, this Ryan guy knows what he's doing. Seems like a good dude. And I look at it as if you give away value in advance so good, then people go, damn, what's next? Mm-hmm. And I know this is not a tactical strategy. I just want people to think through the lens of not what else can I sell them, more of what can I deliver so good that when they're done, they think, man, I hope Ryan has something else.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so say someone gets your book, They listen to your podcast, like, this guy knows what he's doing. So good. What's next? And they search for it. Or you call them and they go, oh, next is, say, coaching.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, then they go through your coaching and you make your coaching so valuable, deliver so much results for them that they start doing deals, they're doing well. Then what is that next question? And they think, this is so good. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
And they end up in your mastermind.
Yeah.
I know this might sound subtle, but if you think about the end result you want them in, and you go back to the front on the value in advance or the ads that you create, what is the through line that you can create so the marketing up front is already attracting that ideal client that'll live with you at the end?
Right.
Right? Because I see sometimes people want, you said, you were perfect, hungry hustlers that just need a blueprint. Well, sometimes on the front, we do marketing. We're just trying to get tire kickers or dreamers. But those dreamers that have already bought 1 million courses, so even though you might want to attract them in the front, you know they're not going to do the work. They're not going to expand. They're not going to get to deal. They're not going to end up in your mastermind. So I'd rather start the marketing and go, hey, if you try things and you dabble, this isn't for you. You got to be hungry.
Yeah.
You got to be resilient. You got to be resourceful. And if you're resourceful, I can bring the resource. So all of a sudden, the marketing changes up front. So you're bringing more in the person, more of the type of person that lives through you, through your entire ecosystem, through your entire ascension. And all of a sudden, what does that do? Your lifetime value of the client goes up. Instead of a whole bunch of people buying the cheap stuff and the first thing.
Those are the wrong people.
They're the wrong people. So now your lifetime value is $100. I'm using round numbers.
Yeah.
But if you market it, maybe it costs a little bit more and there's a little less people, but the right people have a lifetime value of $500. Who wins in marketing? Ryan, you know.
The person who can spend the most.
Right. So as subtle as this might sound, if you market up front to the people that you want to end with you, your lifetime value goes up. So instead of spending $50 to acquire a client, you could spend $250 to acquire a client.
Yeah.
No one can compete with you, and they wonder why you do million people events or incredible events like you do, because they are so shallow that their clients aren't worth enough, they can't spend enough, and then they keep the cycle of getting the wrong people, the dreamers, the people who want to get rich overnight, rather than getting the hustlers without a blueprint.
Yeah. And that makes sense because when I think about Tony, I mean, how many events have people been to, right, who became a customer 20 years ago? I mean...
And now they're on their 5th event.
Exactly, right? Like their lifetime value is insane. And I just think about, too, with... So it's interesting. I never had to worry about any of this. So I actually started just organically. I just put out good content, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I started in 2020. And for 3 years, I didn't run ads at all.
Amazing.
And man, I think we did over 10 million bucks just organic. I'm like, this is like the coolest business ever, you know, like this is easy. And then you hit a plateau, you hit a cap, and you can only help so many people. Only so many people know of you organically.
Yep.
So I start learning how to run ads. I start learning how to throw events. And dude, I literally ran no webinars. I didn't know how to script one. I didn't know how to do anything. And same thing when people would talk about lead magnets. I'm like, what is that?
What is a ROAS?
Yeah. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They're all free. Like, they come in.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't know anything. And I'm like, I don't know. We're doing pretty good. So then I learn all the digital direct response marketing and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Okay. I understand that. And whatever, right? So we start doing that and doing it pretty good. But recently, I was actually at this little get-together, and there was at least 5 people there. I think actually your guys' team got invited. It was in Austin, Texas. And there was like at least 5 people doing over $100 million a year in the education space, which is like extremely hard. And I'm like, this is crazy. And I was just like, I'm like, okay, man, if you wanted to get to that kind of level, they must have like a lot of different products and different verticals and all this stuff. It's like, no, we got like 3 products. I'm like, how the heck do you get to that level with 3 products? Like, I'm over here thinking I need like new niches and new things. And like, no, dude, your products could get there. And I was like, okay, that's like a new thought I had never experienced. And this is the value of masterminds.
Of course, absolutely.
I was just like, okay. And then the next thing they started telling me about, and this was like what blew my mind as a marketer, somebody who never even understood this, but I'm like, yeah, I understand lifetime value is important. Yeah, I understand like customer acquisition costs, but they're like, no, like for us, like the two most important metrics are payback period and then, customer acquisition cost to lifetime value. And I was like, okay, so explain that. They're like, well, for us, if we want to spend a lot of money at scale, we have to lower the payback period, the break-even point. So for you, Ryan, you're thinking, and I never understood this until recently, but like in real estate, your payback period is a long time, right? I can spend money talking to a seller today. I get the lead. And then if I flip the house, the payback is 6 months from now.
Yep.
I finally get back. So then, you start getting into wholesaling and you're like, this is great. I make my money back in 30 days, 60 days, whatever. And the education side, like my payback is instant when it was organic. But when I started running ads, I realized like, oh man, these people don't even know who I am. They don't like buy stuff right away. And so we started doing an event called WealthCon. We'd have 1,000 people at it every quarter. And so that was the model. I'd run this big event every quarter, cost a ton of money to run, hundreds of thousands to go put it on, hundreds of thousands in ads. And then, on day 90, you hope the event goes well.
Yeah.
And like you get a payback, right? Yeah. And then I started doing virtual, workshops 6 months ago, and it was once a month. And those were extremely successful. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Now it's not 90 days. It's every 30 days. This is great. And I was at this mastermind and the guys were like, Ryan, you can keep getting it down even more. Like, why does it have to be 30 days? Why can't it be 14? Why can't it be 7? Why can't it be 3? Why, theoretically, right? What would be, if you got it back same day, like that'd be awesome, right? And I'm like, yeah. We're like, well, why not? And so one of the guy goes, do you know how many webinars we run a day? I go, how many? He's like, 16. I was like, you guys run 16 webinars, like live? He's like, live. And then same thing that you had said earlier, like, dude, we held 40 events a week or whatever it was. Same concept. We hire people to go run them and everything else. I was like, yeah, I don't know why I think that I need to be the guy on every single event or any, that makes sense.
But isn't it cool how events like that stretch you?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like, I did not think this was possible. And then now I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like the biggest companies in the world are not concerned about getting a 3x ROAS day one. Yep. They're like, man, what's the actual payback period? Because then I can just spend way more than everyone else, acquire way more customers, help way more people. And as long as I can withstand whatever that period is, I have enough cash, long term, we win.
Absolutely. Especially with a model of delivering such value that they get done and want what's next, right? So if you look at it, one of the rules of thumb that I've taught in my company is if we could get our money back in the first couple of weeks, I'm okay with the profit coming in over the next several months or the next year.
Exactly.
Right? And what I teach my team is when new people come on, I say, we're really good at ripening green fruit. And what I mean by that is most marketers, if you're just marketing for the front end, just marketing for the instant return on investment.
That has to be your profit. That's all it is.
Right. Then you're picking all the red apples off the tree, leaving the green ones. If you can serve the emotional buyers and pick all the red apples, but then the green fruit, just love on them. Yeah. Just give them value. Serve them in the best way possible. Over deliver, even if they didn't buy much or buy anything from you. Eventually, those apples turn red and you're ripening green fruit. So if you think, we do a big event, like I said, May 15th, we're doing a great event and we'll have, hundreds of thousands of people come. There'll be a lot of people that day that go, I want to work with Tony and Dean. Like if I'm going to do this, why not work with the best in the world? Great. But those that don't, we're going to deliver so much value and then we're going to give them value all year long. And I'm telling you, all year long, those people will go, these guys are awesome. I'm in. Some are a month. Some are 6 months. Yeah. Some are a year later.
Yeah.
And I think what most people do is they get a chunk of people, they scrape out the buyers, go, I got to get more people, got to get more people. Like they're always hunting the new rather than dating, like you're married, I'm married, but it's like people are thinking, I'm going to hook up with this person I'm dating on night one. Some people you got to date for 6 months. Have the patience.
Yeah.
Have the patience because then your lifetime value grows, your impact grows, and then that money that you spent on today, again, you get to spend more because 3, 6, 9 months from now, they're gonna upgrade.
Yeah. One thing they were telling me too was, obviously the bigger you get, especially with these private equity firms and venture capital, they're like, dude, we could wait years or a long time to break even because we just know
Yep.
we've got enough runway to do it. We don't
course.
care. And obviously most people can't do that, right? But it really got me thinking. I was like, yeah. And then like I talked to some of my friends, they're like, dude, if we can get 60-day payback period, 90 days, and that's when we finally recoup our ad spend, we just know though, lifetime, we're gonna win.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is such a crazy concept.
Hence,
Yeah.
what we started in the beginning. If you don't have a quality product,
Right.
do you think you're going to get paid back in 90 days?
No.
Because in 90 days, they're going to go, this is not what they promised me.
Yeah.
This is not what they said I was going to get. I'm not getting the outcome. So hence we started this whole relationship. You said this conversation, who makes it? Who makes it are the people that care so much that when they're in 90 days, they're like, this freaking guy, Ryan, he's over delivered on everything he said.
Yeah.
Not, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they stay with you and continue with you. And that's how the return comes and it continues to come.
Yeah.
And then they tell their friends and they tell their family and they post how much they love you on social media. So the common denominator for success, I truly believe, is care more.
Yeah.
Like literally care more.
Yeah, we actually, so 6 months ago, we did that and doubled down on the product in that, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with this, but most coaching programs, right, you got to sign like a year commitment or whatever else, right? And we used to do that too for many years. Now I rebuilt the whole product to be not even real. I wouldn't even really call it education. I'd call it a complete real estate platform. So like they just pay monthly. It's all recurring. There's no contract. You could buy 1 month and it's on us.
Yeah.
To
earn your business every month.
Yeah. And I was like, I'll bet on us. And so like we give them leads, we give them softwares, we give them one-on-one coaching, we give them funding for we give them everything. You don't have to go anywhere else. Everything's included in the price. And it's been really fun to watch it compound because nobody has to stay in.
Right.
They're choosing to.
That's really awesome.
And it makes it easier to acquire customers too because there's way less friction.
Yep.
I literally tell them like, hey, try it. We're not making you sign up for this, whatever else. And then like the other part too, you made me think about it when you said getting quality people with your marketing. It's funny because I kind of like, I don't want to say I get mean, but I get like super negative when I'm doing a present. I'm like, look, this is a 6-month plan to really get good at wholesaling.
Yeah.
Like you're going to spend this month, you ain't making nothing. You're going to spend month 2, you ain't making nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone quits right here in month 1, 1, 2. If you're expecting a return in month 1, 1, 2, leave now. It's all good. Leave. I don't care. You won't make it in real estate. You just won't. And then I keep going on. And then, those who buy, like they're sticking because it's like we have proper expectations.
Yeah. So smart. And you didn't even know, like that wasn't part of a strategy.
No.
You just knew that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's just
Right?
the truth.
So good. So good. I mean, there's nothing better than setting expectations. And people, I think we live in a world that people want transparency and truth more than ever. They're just dying. Just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
We're in a time when we don't trust our government.
Yeah.
We're finding out all the lies on both sides. No matter where you are in the political spectrum, everybody's full of crap.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not trusting things, and people are just dying to feel connected to something that they can believe in.
Yeah. What else do you think that really separates? I mean, obviously a quality product is one.
Yeah.
What are other skill sets that a lot of people who are already doing coaching, maybe they're at 10,000 a month or 100,000 a month, or maybe they got a 7-figure company now. What do you think is that skill set that gets them to the next level? What gets them to 10?
Marketing stamina.
Marketing stamina. What does that mean?
Just if you know your product's amazing. So number one, product's amazing and it's scalable, right? So some people start
Can't just do one-on-one.
Yeah. Some people start with kind of cohorts or they do one-on-one, and neither one of those can be scalable because if you're starting with a cohort, then starting with a group of people, you got to wait till the next group is ready and that gets cumbersome. And if it's one-on-one, that's very difficult. So I would say if you're ready to go to that next level, then make sure you love your product so much that you can't stop talking about it. Number one, I already said that way too many times today. Number two, do everything in your power that's scalable. And that's completely possible and easier in today's world with AI and technology and what you've created. And then the third thing is, I say marketing stamina. Don't be satisfied with your marketing. Get better, shoot more ads, create more creatives, try everything under the sun. Try TikTok, try Instagrams, try LinkedIn, try everything that you could possibly imagine as often as you possibly can. And whenever you find a control that works, try to beat the control.
Always test.
My team still thinks I'm nuts. You know, when we do our big launches, I still write the copy. I still write the opt-in pages, right? I'll still shoot the ads. I still write most of my ads.
That's crazy.
Because I love it, right? I love it. And
but also no one in the world is really better than you.
And I just got more time in it, right? Like even if someone's good, I just happen to have more time than most. I've seen what's worked. Like
you'll draw something from 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's ads that I know that were my winning infomercial hook of 1998. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I got the time, and but I have to say, marketing stamina means this: if you try and try every time you try again. If you get a control and go, hey, our cost per acquisition is $5, $15, $50, whatever the number is, do everything in your power to get it to $4. And when you get it to $4, don't be happy with $4. Do everything in your power to get to $3.75.
Yeah.
And I'm just relentless. I'm relentless in continuing to innovate, ideate, create, look for new ways. I love being in masterminds. I love being around people who are 2 years in, 5 years in. I find energy from them. There's things that you do, I promise you, way better than I do. And there's things that I do significantly better than you. I love that we can collaborate and I can take from you, you could take from me. That's what a mastermind is, right?
Yep.
Napoleon Hill said more than one person in the room, you know, 2 or more people in a room with a similar outcome, when they get together and share it, creates a third mind that's smarter than all of them. That's the definition of a mastermind, collective wisdom, right? So I'm always looking, I'm always watching other people. I love being in masterminds. I love talking to hungry young kids that have something that's working. And I just try everything. I have the stamina to keep going because I love impacting lives. I know what my compelling future is. And I know the only way to fuel my business is to be better at marketing, to get more people in front of our message.
Okay. So you got to have stamina. You got to just keep innovating, reiterating, trying to improve it over and over again. And then what takes you from 10 million to over 100 million?
Great question. Once the marketing and the good product is there, the next one's the hardest. Truly understanding how to be a leader. Owning a business, running a business doesn't necessarily make you a leader. And I'm raising my hand. I'm not pointing at you. I'm raising my hand. It takes some time to, like, I just had a conversation with 2 of my teammates this week that I'm working really hard to help them see what leadership is. They're both amazing project managers in their 30s. One's, you know, just great humans. But transitioning into leadership, they find frustration with different people. They have different egos, or some people need attention. Some people are shy.
Yeah.
True leadership is understanding the human condition. Like at this phase of my life, it's just understanding people. It's like being a kindergarten teacher, right? You have different personalities. You have one kid that's shy. You have to talk to him a certain way. You have one kid that wants to be the hero in the room. One kid that wants to be the loud person. You got a bully. You got somebody who gets bullied. And as a teacher, we have to meet all of these kids where they are, right? You'd have to. I'm not a teacher. I'm saying, but you'd have to meet these kids where they are, and you have to speak to them in their language. And true leadership is understanding that so you can bring in generals into your company. Like when I say that is up to 10, 20 million bucks. I would love to bring in young, hungry people that just want that, like they got a fire in their soul, and I would mentor them and love them through it and teach them how to be incredible marketers and direct response and teachers and educators. And I would turn them into quasi leaders or generals. But 20 million to 100, you got to bring in the right people, and you got to build a culture. You have to have values. You have to be the leader that understands people. And it's if you ever look at, you read the story of Shoe Dog, or the founders of Nike. You know, he used to sit around. He used to call it amazing book. He called them the Buttheads. Sound around. He might have been the innovative, creative person, but what did he say at the end of the book? He'd do anything to go back and sit around those round tables with that amazing group of humans that solved all those problems. Right? You need a collective wisdom of good people. Like I pretend to be an operator. I'm an innovator. I'm a creator. I'm the person that thinks up what could happen tomorrow, and then I force myself to operate. Yeah. I go fast when I have an amazing operator, when I have someone who integrates. So I have someone who's a CFO, can handle the finances and just give me a quick snapshot report. When I get in those pieces, I get bogged down. So you can get to 10, 20 million faking it, right? And I don't mean faking it, like handling all of it. Try to go to 30 million on your own, you come unglued. you fall apart. You're trying to be everything for everybody, and then you're trying to get on camera and, hey, everybody, it's Ryan. How are you doing? Good? And then you're trying to be in front of people on stage when someone's like, hey, can we get the accounting? You got to look over where our finances are for the month. It's hard.
Yeah.
So leadership skills, creating a true culture, getting people on your team that don't fear you, but they got your back and they want you to succeed. That's the next level.
I love that. Last question I have for you, because the marketers are probably wondering this, but what are you guys seeing as like the best way to market and get customers today? Challenge it. I mean, you're doing obviously this big challenge.
I would say give high level, and this is just take what serves you, throw the rest away from this. But I truly believe more value in advance, because there's so many imitators, copycats. There's a lot of noise out there. Have the courage to give more away than other people. Have the courage to teach first more than other people. It's why your business kicked off before you spent an ad. You are obviously giving away great value.
Yeah.
Pace Morby's a dear friend. He did the same thing, right?
Yep.
He lives down the street from me. He gave away so much value in advance that it just started pouring in before he ever spent a dime on ads, right?
Yep.
I think we're in this place where self-education is becoming more and more popular. It's heading towards $1 trillion a year. But I think we have to give more up front. And one thing I want to say is, doing this for 28 years, I remember people saying, and this is only for the marketers, so I hope I don't turn anybody off that doesn't understand this if you're just in real estate, but people would say, oh, you got to sell a high ticket, direct to an application, high ticket. In the marketing world, that means instead of buying a book or a course, it's book a call and then try to sell them high level coaching. And then it's like, everything else is dead, low ticket's done. And then they're like, no, nobody's buying high ticket. You got to write a book. Nobody's doing books anymore. You got, like, it's all crap. It's all not true. I've been doing this 28 years with the same thing. It's caring more. It's being consistent. It's having marketing stamina. Don't be like the wind and model what everybody else does. Find your groove. Find your lane. Tony's been doing the same. Unleash the Power Within is the same today as it was 40 years ago. We just did an event 2 weeks ago, had 30,000 people at it. It's the same exact event for 40 years because he delivers masterfully. He transforms live. You know, when you go, you're getting a 10 out of a 10 experience. So if that gives you any value of saying, make something good, make it better, stick to your guns, go deep, marketing stamina, care about your people, and you can't go wrong.
I love it. Well, Dean, I appreciate you coming on, man. You shared, decades of knowledge condensed down really in value, like you just said, just given a ton of value. And, if people aren't convinced now, they definitely need to come to the event you guys are having on. So I'll repeat, that's May 15th.
Yep, it's called Thrive in 2025. And if you put the link in the show notes, we'll make it easy for people to go. And it's our only big free event a year, so you're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, and if this is just a taste of what's to come. So guys, go check it out. Go attend the event. Go join Dean and Tony and everyone else that they're going to be bringing on. It's going to be awesome. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.